800 years ago, today a group of English barons forced King John to sign a document that would change the course of history, limiting the power of the monarchy and establishing the principle that everyone, even the king, is subject to the law. It's a foundational document for our modern conceptions of liberty and justice, and you may have heard of it as the inspiration for the American Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. It was, of course, the Magna Carta, but what does Magna Carta actually mean? Well, it's Latin for Great Charter. The document itself was written in 1215 and contained 63 clauses. Some of its provisions aimed to correct specific grievances. For example, it outlawed the practice of double jeopardy, meaning that a person could not be tried twice for the same crime. Others established the right to due process, meaning that no free man could be punished without first being found guilty in a court of law. But perhaps the most important thing about the Magna Carta is what it stood for. Up until this point, the English king had been considered to be above the law, answerable to no one. But by signing the Magna Carta, King John acknowledged that his power was limited and that he, too, was subject to the law. This principle would come to be known as the rule of law, and although the Magna Carta was originally intended to protect the rights of English nobles, its principles would later be extended to all people. The original Magna Carta is now on display at the British Library. iLines put a link to it in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. So why should you care about this ancient legal document? Well, as I mentioned, the Magna Carta is considered to be one of the foundational documents for our modern conceptions of liberty and justice. Its principles have inspired countless other declarations and constitutions, including the United States. In fact, you can see the influence of the Magna Carta in the very first words of the United States Declaration of Independence, which famously begins with the words, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." The authors of the Declaration were clearly influenced by the Magna Carta's assertion that everyone, regardless of social status, is subject to the law. In addition, the rule of law established in the Magna Carta is what ultimately led to the American Revolution. When King George II of England came to power, he attempted to impose greater control over the colonies in North America. But the people of the colonies resisted, arguing that they could not be punished without first being found guilty in a court of law. And so the American Revolution began, ultimately resulting in the creation of the United States of America.